Hello class. By now you all should have received your grades on essay number 1. There was a problem with the grade book, so there was a delay in the grades posting. So let me know right away if you haven't received a grade, but each of you should have received your essay number 1 grade, and also you should have received a Word copy with my comments as well attached to that grade. So if you're missing either your grade or the Word copy of the document with my detailed feedback, send me a message through the course messages link right away. And there are a few things I wanted to go over in general about the essays and to give you some tips on how to do better on the next essay. So in general, the essays, they weren't bad, but there's definitely some room for improvement. One thing I want you to remember is that you can redo your essays for a higher grade. So I really recommend that you look at my feedback and revise your essays based on that feedback. Also remember that I am available for conferencing, a one-on-one. We can have a conference either via Skype, through Google Hangouts, and to do Google Hangouts you just need a Gmail address. If you don't have one, you can easily sign up for one for free. And we can also do that over the telephone. But Skype and Google Hangouts are nice because we can see each other and do that through the video conferencing. I also am on the Catonsville campus at certain hours, so we could also arrange an in-person appointment if you have access to the Catonsville campus. But I find for online students, Skype and Google Hangouts usually work better. Also remember that CCBC offers online tutoring, and I'll go over that later in this video. The first thing I want to point out to you as we go over this is all of your essays were graded according to the essay grading standards, and this is in the classroom. It's in the Getting Started section here where we have the rubrics. I've uploaded several rubrics here. So grading rubrics in this folder. If you go in there, you'll see this essay rubric is here. And I'm also going to attach it to the announcement that will come with this video. So there's the essay rubric in the classroom that you can find, but also here it is. So when I graded your papers, these are the standards I used. So you could see what the standard is for a C paper, and then what it was for an A and B paper. And here is the scale, so you can look to see what percentage your letter grade equals or vice versa here on this scale as well. Now, one of the main things I noticed, one of the main issues with the essays was MLA format. MLA format is not negotiable, and all of your essays have to be in MLA format. Now, there is an example in the textbook, and it's written at the top of the assignment sheet for essay number 1. And I've also included other resources in the classroom with MLA format, but that is not negotiable. All of your essays must be in MLA format. Several of you submitted essays this time that were not in proper MLA format. Going forward, if you submit an essay that's not in MLA format, I'm going to send it back to you, and that will count as your first attempt at the essay. So you won't have a chance to revise that essay for a higher grade. So make sure that you use proper MLA format. Now, to help you, in the grammar and writing resources I added already, there are plenty of handouts in here, presentations, guides on proper MLA format. And I also created another module here on the class, Get Higher Grades on Essays, where I collected a lot of the things that are relevant just to the essays. And in this folder here, you will find as well a guide to proper MLA format. And that is here. There's a sample paper in MLA style. And this sample is good because it actually gives you examples, explanations of what every section should be. A lot of you did this part correctly in MLA format, but you left out the headers on each page here. So you have to make sure you have that too. And you also have to make sure that your works cited are done properly. and that you have a works cited page that should be a separate page. So here's a sample that you can, and there's also a downloadable version in the grammar and writing resources section as well. That should be in the handouts on grammar. That's here, and this one you can open up and download so you can have that to look at. I also added here there are more handouts on writing and grammar that can help you. But back to the section I added on Get Higher Grades on Essays. Here there are plenty of resources, and I urge you to look at all of these resources before you turn on the next essay, because all of these I compiled based on the types of issues I saw in your papers this time. Like I said, number 1 was MLA format. So make sure that you're using proper MLA format. A minor issue not too many of you had a problem with, but a few of you did, was submitting the essay properly. Make sure that you review that document on how to submit an essay assignment, because some of you just pasted it in to the box, the submission box, and that I'm not able to grade. I can't download it or make comments if you paste it into that submission box, and often the formatting is lost as well. So make sure that you always put it as an attachment to your paper and not just post it in. And make sure it's a Word document. Some of you may have done it in another format that didn't translate or that I couldn't open. And as I mentioned before, you can revise essay number 1. You have until March 3rd to submit a revision for a higher grade, and there will be an announcement explaining that in the classroom. But March 3rd, you have until to submit that. Another thing that I noticed is some of you didn't respond fully to the prompt, and that's very, very important. Always, whatever writing you do, you always want to make sure that you're responding to the prompt. So if you look at the prompt, you are asked to think about a book or story that has a profound impact on you, then write an essay explaining how the theme, plot, character setting, or other elements impacted you. Some of you didn't do this. Some of you talked just more broadly in general about the impact, but you didn't talk about the literary elements. One problem that some of you ran into is that you did not choose a fiction book or story. You didn't choose a novel or a story that really fit the assignment well. And so when it came to having to talk about theme or plot, you hadn't chosen something that had enough of those elements for you to discuss. So that's the other thing. You want to make sure that whatever text you're choosing really fits the assignment and is appropriate. Another thing, and I've added a few resources to talk about this. A lot of you were very heavy on the plot summary. You retold the story of the book or retold the story, but didn't really talk about how it influenced you, and didn't really use examples from your own experience to illustrate how and why the story has influenced you. And if you see here, that's another major part of the assignment. Okay? Include examples from the book or story and your own experience that illustrate how and why the book or story has influenced you. And some of you left that part out. So you want to make sure that you're always responding. In essay number 2, the same thing. So if we just look at the prompt, select any of the stories in Literature for Life. So that's number 1. When you're picking your topic, you want to make sure you're picking a story from Literature for Life and not something else. Okay? And you're going to write an analysis of how the author employs at least 3 of the following elements. So you have to make sure that you have 3 of these elements. And so these are the elements you have to choose from. So in your essay, that is the first thing you have to do, is to make sure you're talking about these 3 things. Okay? Now here it says you may use a story we have read in class or another that interests you, but the story must be in the Literature for Life text. So that means it doesn't have to be a story that's been assigned. It could be another story that's in that textbook, but it has to be in that textbook. Okay? You must include citations in proper MLA format. Okay? That's very important. Make sure you cite your sources and that you use proper MLA format. And also pay attention to the word and page count, because that counts too. So when you're writing your essays, make sure you really look at what the assignment is and that you've responded to all parts of the assignment, because that is important. Another thing I wanted to point out too is that it's very important to remember that you still have to carry everything you learned in English 101 applies in this class. So take that toolbox from 101 and apply it. We're not back to scratch. We're not starting over. All of those things that you learned in English 101, I expect to see applied in your essays in English 102. So you should already have a good sense of proper essay structure and proper essay format, and you should have a pretty decent command and control of sentence structure. But I know it's hard, and it's much easier said than done, and that's why I've included so many of those extra resources in the grammar and writing resources. There are plenty of resources to help you. And as I said, I really recommend you look at that module on getting a higher grade before you write essay number 2. Okay? And here I have a lighthearted look at this because I know a lot of us are super busy. We have a lot going on, and we're doing our work at the last minute. But you want to make sure that your papers are concise and that everything you're including is relevant, and that you leave yourself time to proofread and edit your papers. That's very important. And as I said, going forward, I'm going to be very strict with MLA format. So if I don't get a paper in MLA format, it's going to be sent back to you to resubmit. Remember the essay structure. Most of you were fine with this, but there were a few people who wrote more of an informal journal type entry. Remember, your blogs can be informal, but your essays still have to be in pretty much the standard essay structure, where you have an introduction, a clear thesis statement, you develop that in body paragraphs. Keep in mind too, in this course, your essays are generally going to be more than 3 body paragraphs because you're doing more analysis, more critical thinking, so you're not going to be limited to just 3 body paragraphs. And a few of you did a really good job at the analysis, but you were trying to really keep it in this strict structure of 3 body paragraphs when you really had more. So don't feel like you can only have 3 body paragraphs. You will have more than 3 body paragraphs in this course because you're taking a much more critical look at the readings than you have in the past. Then you restate your thesis and you have a conclusion that wraps up your essay, sums up your main points, adds a closing thought without introducing new material. So make sure you remember proper essay structure. Another quick thing, I've added this little PowerPoint to the classroom as well. You can find this in your grammar writing resources section, and also I think it's also in the getting a better grade. The difference between quotation marks and italics. There was a lot of confusion about when to use which. So here I just have a little guide that shows you what types of works you use quotation marks for and what type of works you use italics for. So you can take a look at that too. Okay? And the other thing I wanted to share with you today, let me end this show, is, as I mentioned before, all of your revisions by March 3rd. And I also want to make sure that all of you are taking the time to look at all of these videos I'm uploading, because I do include a lot of important messages, a lot of important announcements in these videos. I put things in the announcement section. Of course, there's always something written there, but the videos do have important content and do have important messages for you. So please make sure that you're looking at all of these Tegrity videos. I made an announcement in the classroom about that, but make sure that you're doing that. And remember, if you cannot access the link, if you have an issue with the link, you can always find it here under Tegrity Classes. There's a web link that goes right to Tegrity Classes. And if it requires a login, the login is the same as your CCBC login for everything else. And as I said, any questions, any issues, please contact me right away. But so far, so good. Keep up the good work. And again, revisions to essay number 1, you have until March 3rd to submit revisions. And please reach out to me if you'd like to meet with me to go over your essays in more detail or to get some help with revisions. Oh, I did mention too that here the CCBC Online Writing Center is where you can go to find out about online writing tutoring at CCBC. So they have an online writing lab, and here it explains how to get online tutoring. So that's another resource for you as well. But as I said, I'm available too. So good luck. Any questions, let me know. And I look forward to reading your Module 2 blog post.